So Wednesday brought lengthy arguments about one of the most hotly debated bills of the 2026 session. This is the anti-sheriff bill, Senate Bill 5974, that would allow the Criminal Justice Training Commission to decertify and remove an elected sheriff from office if they, let's say, took issue with a social media post or an association that sheriff had with some group that they found objections with. Now, Thurston County Superior Court Judge Christine Schaller temporarily said, I'm going to suspend most of this bill or the most objectionable parts of this bill from taking effect. She granted what's called a preliminary injunction. I should note it is very difficult to get a preliminary injunction for a bill from taking effect. You have to meet a very high bar to get those, including what the plaintiffs say this is unconstitutional. When she grants that preliminary injunction, the judge is basically saying, I think you've got a good case here. I think based on what I've seen in your arguments, you're likely to prevail on the merits of this case ultimately. So for now, I'm going to grant this injunction. Now, the sheriffs in this are sheriffs from Spokane, from Pend Oreille County, from Stevens County, and from Ferry counties. These four sheriffs that mounted this legal challenge to ask for this preliminary injunction, which again was granted in part. The sheriffs argue the new rules are unconstitutional, and here you see the judge agreed.
It is important, obviously, that there ultimately be a final decision on the issues raised herein, because also I have no doubt, and rightfully so, that there will be an appeal. I'm not the last stop as it relates to determinations, as it relates to constitutionality, nor should I be.
This was a very interesting hearing and was drawn out even as the judge came back and said, I'm going to issue the preliminary injunction. But then the state and Noah Purcell pushed to say, so what? Are you injuncting the entire bill, certain sections of it? We want to know what the deal is. And the judge came back and said, you guys hash it out and I'll come back in a few minutes. So she called a recess, she left, and that left Mark Lamb, the attorney for the four sheriffs, and Solicitor General Noah Purcell to talk amongst themselves and try to hash out, okay, I'm saying that, this is the most offensive part of the bill. This can't take effect at midnight. And then you've got the state pushing back, going, okay, wait a minute. We think this should take effect. This is not your main issue with the bill. This went back and forth for well over an hour. At one point, the judge came back. They both had some presentations again, and she said, you still haven't worked this out. I'm out of here again. You better have this figured out when I come back. And then she came back another 30, 40 minutes later. And finally, they had agreed on the sections of the bill to be injuncted or basically put on hold until the full lawsuit plays out. And it was the most, according to the plaintiffs, the most egregious part of the bill, which was Section 9 in the bill, that was completely put on hold. And this has to do with some of the criteria. You got to be 25 years old. You got to serve 5 consecutive years to be a candidate. And it precludes the Criminal Justice Training Commission from going back and looking at all your social media, all of your associations in the past. Because at this point, the way the bill is written, if they found something objectionable in your past, they could move to decertify and remove you from office. So that section alone, as well as some others, being put on hold by this judge in Thurston County Wednesday was a huge victory for the plaintiffs. This is Ashley Burnham with the law firm that represents the 4 sheriffs. I spoke with her just after the court hearing ended on Wednesday.
We could not be more thrilled with Judge Schaller's ruling. She delivered an impressive reasoning from the bench. We were waiting at the edge of our seats throughout that. It was absolutely well reasoned and thoughtful, and I could not be more impressed with Judge Schaller and the commitment that she took to understanding the issues at play here and to considering both parties' briefing and the constitutional issues that our clients have at stake. We are just so thrilled and honored to be able to represent for county sheriffs who believed in this law and believed that it was important to stand up and challenge this law The court thinks that we are likely to succeed on the merits. It's actually a very difficult standard to meet. Uh, and as you saw from Judge Schaler's ruling, she very carefully considered the requirements to meet a preliminary injunction. One of those requirements is that the law itself is likely to be held unconstitutional. Another one is that our clients, the county sheriffs, have a well grounded, reasonable fear that their constitutional rights might be violated. And she found in favor of our clients, the county sheriffs, on both of those fronts, as well as the fact that their rights cannot be remediated at a later date by a court of law. Once the law goes into effect, she found that their First Amendment constitutional rights and 14th Amendment constitutional rights are likely to be violated. And so we are absolutely thrilled with her reasoning, but this is not the end. The state has already asked for a stay of this order, and they intend to appeal this ruling. And so we will continue to fight at the appellate court level, the Supreme Court level, and beyond.
Now, you may recall it was Pierce County Sheriff Keith Swank and his testimony that prompted some pushback, even from the Washington Sheriff's Association, that basically came out and said, we take issue with what you're saying, because he said, try to remove me from office if this bill gets passed and see how my supporters respond. It was intentionally provocative. He told me on several occasions he did that because he finds this bill to be truly unconstitutional. So today, I got his reaction to the preliminary injunction.
I'm pleased with it. I was really surprised about the judge's ruling because, when it got moved from Monterey County to Lincoln County, then to Thurston County, I was like, oh man, they're setting this up so that they'll have a judge there that won't be open-minded and won't abide by the Constitution. So I was really surprised and very happy about it. I really believe the whole bill is unconstitutional. But the parts that the judge put a ruling injunction on is still good. It helps us out, and I think we can fight the whole thing. There's another court hearing tomorrow with a sheriff candidate and also the Washington State Sheriff's Association lawsuit. That will be a hearing tomorrow down in Olympia, and I'll be attending that to see what comes from that. It's to chill the speech, more than chill the speech, to control my speech, right? I have now, I think, 10 complaints filed with the Criminal Justice Training Commission, all involving things that I've said that the left doesn't agree with, so they file a complaint against me, right? And so, yeah, that's a big deal. And to give some bureaucracy the ability to say you're no longer sheriff because you said trans women are men, which is true. And if I told them, well, prove me to me scientifically that it's not, and they can't, or ask them what a definition of a woman is, they can't, but they'll say what I said was hate speech. It's upside down. So it's good to have that ruling come out like that. I mean, we need to do more fighting. The other thing is, I don't know how quickly it could be appealed straight to the state Supreme Court. So they could be ruling on it even next week while filing is going on. So I don't think that Rick Coos, who is in the lawsuit tomorrow, is out of the woods yet, right? His situation is not out of the woods yet. We have to make sure that the injunction holds through filing, and then everybody that's been filed has filed. Then it doesn't affect me. I'm not running for sheriff this year, so but everybody else who's running, which is most of the sheriffs offices are open for election this year, they need to be able to know what to do. I mean, right now they're saying, do we have to fill out this background information or do we not? And I'm saying, no, don't do it. But but what if they change it next week and say you have to have it done, and now they don't have it done and they don't qualify in time to file for sheriff? So it's still worrisome.
Now, on Friday morning, there is a separate lawsuit, a hearing in a separate lawsuit against this anti-sheriff bill brought by Kitsap County Sheriff's candidate Rick Coos and the Washington Sheriff's Association, suing to block it. Now, given Wednesday's preliminary injunction granted on this bill, he may be in the clear for his candidacy, but the hearing is still taking place, and we're going to be there to cover it to find out exactly what this judge says. It's a different judge, might have a different take on the reading of the injunction and how this separate lawsuit moves forward, or perhaps is, combined with the other one. Again, we'll be there in court on Friday morning to bring you the update. But here is what Sheriff's candidate Rick Coos told me after yesterday's win for his side in Thurston County.
Yeah, it was a huge win for, sheriffs in general, just going out there and being the ones that represent the people and fighting for the people's constitutional rights. And as decided by the judge, there's an injunction, so it affected Section 9, which is the one that affects my ability to run for sheriff. So right now, I will be able to file based on the decision by the judge. And I'll have a court case on Friday, similar thing, so I expect the same outcome, just there's going to be, with all the appeals and stuff going on, there'll be two separate paths, and so it's a huge win, a huge start for us. I kind of expect on Friday morning she'll say similar things and then kind of maybe address how I am protected with this lawsuit until further appeals or if future outcomes affect the case negatively. There'll be two separate paths, so I should be protected via both lawsuits. She did her research. She's a very thorough judge, studying all the case law, going back far. There was some nervousness being in Thurston County. A lot of people told me, well, it's kind of decided for you being in Olympia. But it turns out, the law is on our side, the Constitution protects us, and the judges right there are fair for all and definitely decided that some of the elements were unconstitutional, which were clear and obvious to most people. So it's just some of the legislators just didn't understand the Constitution, and this judge provides some clarity for that.